Hello everybody and welcome to our channel English Grammar with Ameya sir, and time for us to start with the first poem, Unit 1.1. This is the SSC board, the new syllabus, and the first poem is what we shall study today. I have no doubt that this video will be very useful for you. Where the Mind is Without Fear is the first poem for us to study. It's written by Rabindranath Tagore. And before we actually read this, let's go and see more about the poet. So, he is often referred to as Gurudev. I also believe that his surname actually was Thakur, but then it became anglicized into Tagore. And the British did that to other surnames as well. For example, Chattopadhyay becoming Chatterjee and so on. He penned the national anthem of India, the Jana Gana Mana, and that is why he is widely popular. In fact, he is the only individual in the world who has actually composed poem for two nations. I believe that the national anthem of Bangladesh is also written by Rabindranath Tagore. You can Wikipedia this more. And the Sri Lankan national anthem is inspired by Rabindranath Tagore's work. So, he became the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. I believe that was 1913. And he renounced the knighthood offered to him by the British. That was after the horrific Jallianwala Bagh massacre. I believe that was 1919. And this act shows that he had tremendous love for his country, and in this poem he prays to God for an ideal world. He tries to present to us how an ideal world should be. What kind of a world would we want to live in? Now about the poem. The poem is a good example of a free verse, guys. Not a blank verse, a free verse. Here is a quick difference between the two. Listen to it. Free verse means that the poem has neither any rhyme nor rhythm. That's a free verse. So this poem is a free verse. It will neither have any rhyme nor rhythm. But if it's a blank verse, then there is no rhyme scheme, but there is a definite rhythm. Keep that in mind. The poem is actually a prayer. The tone of the poem is serious but hopeful, certainly very motivating. Most of the lines begin with where to describe the ideal situation about how the world should be, and therefore the figures of speech is repetition. It shows how the world should be with a better poetic effect. Let's get started. The first line, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. So the poet begins this prayer by hoping that there exists a nation where an individual, the citizen, can live without any intimidation or fright. That is the meaning. Mind is without fear. They must not be afraid to express their views or to voice their grievances. Very important. Now what is the latter part? And the head is held high. Also, each and every individual should live with dignity, honor, and self-respect. That is when you hold your head high, right? So there is a figures of speech here. Head is held high. It's alliteration because the sound H is repeated for a better poetic effect. So next, where knowledge is free. Really powerful line. What does this mean? Everyone should get proper education. Nobody should be left out. Nobody should be deprived of knowledge due to silly factors like religion, caste, even money for that matter. That is why you have municipal schools taking care of the underprivileged children, because knowledge is important and every child has a right for primary education at least. Every citizen must receive complete access to knowledge. Thereby they'll get an equal opportunity to develop and prosper their life. Guys, why you need to listen to the explanation very well is to understand. We have got to understand the poem is different. In passages, when it comes to lessons, you get lines from the paragraph. But when it comes to poems, you have to create your own sentences. So it is that much more important to listen to the explanation so that you will have a better idea of how to compose your answer. So knowledge should be free. It is right of everyone to receive knowledge so that they can make their lives better. Next, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. I find that the last part, narrow domestic walls, every word is so important there. So what is this all about? The poet prays for a society where people are not divided over religions, customs, languages, or any other such parameters. These differences show narrow-mindedness. That's where the word narrow becomes important. It is selfishness, it is discrimination, it is narrow mindset. Further, what is disturbing is that these differences are often created by our own society. So they are internal, and that is why the poet has used the word domestic. And they become the obstacles, they become the hurdles, they act as walls in the path towards progress. They do not let us become successful. So, narrow domestic walls. I'm sure that was really beautifully written by Rabindranath Tagore. Next, where words come out from the depth of truth. So this line means that everyone should act with honesty, and the behavior also must be full of integrity. It should be a world where people have sincerity of the heart. So depth of truth, okay, depth of truth actually means sincerity of the heart. There should be no lies, no pretense, no partiality. There's a figure of speech here. Depth of truth is a metaphor. The depth is implicitly compared to be of truth, and implicitly means indirectly. If it's a direct comparison, it becomes simile. Next, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. What do you mean by tireless striving? Tireless striving means persistent efforts. These efforts should be made in order to go towards perfection. That is what it means. So tireless striving means continuous efforts, and stretching its arms means going towards, going in that direction. What direction? Towards perfection. Nobody is perfect, but at least our goal should be to be a better person than what we were yesterday. If you do that, the world will be a better place. Figures of speech. Striving stretches. So this is alliteration because of the sound STR being repeated for a better poetic effect. Mind you, do not write only the sound S. You have to write down sound STR is repeated for a better poetic effect. The other one you have is striving stretches its arms. Now, this is clearly personified. So personification, because striving, the efforts, is given the human quality of stretching arms. What's next? Rabindranath says, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Beautiful. This means that the poet prays for a world where people think rationally and their behavior is logical. Again, look at the line, clear stream of reason. Everything should be logical. There should be some rationality in their behavior. Also, their approach should be scientific. They should whatever they do, there should be some scientific base to it for why they do things. There should be some logic. The world must not continue the dull and depressing ways. By the way, that is exactly what the word dreary means. Okay, dull, very depressing. The world must not continue the dull and depressing ways by following dangerous or harmful customs just because those customs have been performed as a tradition for many years. It's a very important point. Just because something has been into existence for a long period doesn't make it right. So the society has to understand that they have to go towards a bigger mindset, broader outlook, something like that. The figures of speech. Stream of reason is metaphor because the stream has been implicitly compared to be of reason. The other one is sand of dead habit. Again, it's a metaphor. The sand has been implicitly compared to be of dead habit. Finally, you have alliteration, dreary desert, because of the sound D that is repeated for a better poetic effect. Just to point out this word desert here, if you spell it with double S, then it becomes the sweet dish or your ice cream or your fruit salad that you have after your main meal. So be careful. Also, look at the word its. It is, of course, without the apostrophe, not lost its way. Let's proceed further. Where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action. Now here the word thee is archaic, and the capital T suggests that the word you is used for the creator of the universe, that is God. And here the poet prays that God should lead us into broad-mindedness. The world should be tolerant and there must be progressive thinking. Let's do it again. The poet prays that God should lead the world into broad-mindedness, there should be tolerance, and there must be progressive thinking. Our actions and thoughts should reflect continuously improving society. We have to, I just said a few slides ago, that we have to try to be better than what we were yesterday, and if we have done that, that is awesome. That is exactly what our aspiration should be. Now there is a figure of speech. Thought and action is antithesis because they are two opposite words. Now this is very important to understand why they are to be perceived as opposite words. It's because when two things complete the action in the opposite way, they show you the complete picture. For example, he studied day and night. So day and night will give you the 24 hours. He remained steady in the ups and downs of life. So the ups and downs being opposite make the complete picture of the entire life. In that sense, thought and action, thinking is one thing and actually doing it is another. So in that sense, to give the complete idea, you've got to perceive them as opposite words. Then the last line, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. So this line actually proves that this poem is actually a prayer very clearly. So, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. My father, the poet addresses God as father because you see that the F has been capitalized, and father here is his creator, that is God. And he is urging him to let his country become exactly as he stated throughout the poem. That is, let his country, our country, be the one where there is freedom of good thoughts, there is respect for self and respect for each other. Very important. You want people to respect you, you respect other people, and you respect their opinions as well. Okay. There are, I think, three figures of speech here for this line. Heaven of freedom is a metaphor, because heaven has been just implicitly compared to be of freedom. Heaven of freedom. You also have my father, which is an apostrophe because this is a direct address to God. Very important. And father is the creator here. Apostrophe. Inversion. The poet has written into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. Well, the correct order should be my father, let my country awake into that heaven of freedom. That would be a much proper order. What is going to follow this now are the activities from the textbook. I've not covered all the activities, but I've certainly covered the important ones. You can pause the video if you want to study them. So this is the types of poem. They are all textbook based. This is the critical appreciation of poem. You can, again, I'm not going to read out the entire thing. You can pause the video, and one thing I would like to say is I don't want you to copy this word to word. This is just a sample. This is just to give you a fair idea of how it can be. You don't have to exactly copy this and kill your own creativity. I don't want that. The purpose, the intention is not to just act as a guide where you can just copy answers. No, it's not that. Here you have match the column, and finally you have got the speech writing. I've written the speech about Republic Day, and well, when it comes to Republic Day, okay, there was a choice: the Independence Day or the Republic Day. I've written about the Republic Day. Anyway, now I really think that this video was helpful, and as I always say, up until next time, keep learning, keep enjoying, keep getting better at using English. Do let me know your feedback in the comments, and up until next time,